well-known story, but there's a vicious band of guerrilla soldiers that has ravaged the countryside of East Africa for 2 decades, led by a young guy named Joseph Kony. They call themselves the Lord's Resistance Army, and they've wiped out entire villages, torturing and killing. They've also kidnapped children, turned them into soldiers.
These children are victims of one of the most brutal terrorist groups in the world, the Lord's Resistance Army. Led by this man, Joseph Kony, they have terrorized the people of Sudan, Uganda, and Congo, raping, murdering, mutilating, and abducting innocents. These women were maimed for life when the LRA took them captive, but it wasn't an LRA soldier who dismembered them. Florence was forced to cut off her mother-in-law, Feliciana's hand, with an axe. Maimed and bleeding, Feliciana was then ordered to do the same to her pregnant daughter-in-law.
An LRA soldier stood behind me with a gun, and he said, "If you do not cut the hand of this one, I'm going to shoot you." It was hard, but I had no other choice. I did it to save our lives.
The LRA does not spare children from such acts of violence. In fact, children abducted by the LRA are turned into child soldiers and forced to commit atrocities against their own families. But one American missionary is fighting back. In the past 10 years, Sam Childers has saved more than 1,000 children from the LRA. About 300 of them are living at his children's village orphanage in Nimale, Sudan. The compound is protected by soldiers of the South Sudan Army, and here the children find safety, food, and shelter. But even those safely inside cannot escape the awful memories of what they've seen.
If you sleep here on the compound, there's not a night goes by that you won't hear the cries and the screams in the middle of the night. These children got to relive what happened to them.
In his book, Another Man's War, Childers recounts his life as a former drug dealer who turned to Christ and now spends his time fighting for the lives of children in East Africa.
Fascinating story. And Sam Childers joins us now. Hey, Sam, welcome back. God bless you. It's good to see you. You know, your book is something else. I mean, your life is you know, so whether you call it a horror story or a great adventure, I don't know which, but it's you've done some amazing things.
I tell you what, God has really been good to me, and I hope the book will go out to help to change a lot of people's lives like it did mine. And I'll be honest with you, I read the book through a couple times myself already, and it's hard for me to read. Yeah, it's very hard for me to read. I weep when I'm reading it, but at the end I can look at what God has done for me over the years.
Well, you were one tough hombre a few years ago.
No, I wasn't a tough person. I was mean.
Oh, you were mean? Is there a difference?
There's a big difference. Tough person don't get beat up. I was beat up a lot, but I was a very, very mean person growing up through high school and even when I got out of high school. And I used to like to fight, but I still like to fight. I'm a preacher, but I still like to fight.
You still like?
Yeah.
Well, you take weapons, or somebody gives you weapons. You don't just go in there like a sweet missionary with a Bible in your hand.
Absolutely. I'm a soldier. Matter of fact, they call me, okay, the machine gun preacher is my nickname. All right. And somebody just made a website for us that's called the Machine Gun Preacher. But they say I'm good with a machine gun, but I'm better with a pistol.
I don't want to run you short. Well, what do you have to do? This Kony, he's been roaming around. Why doesn't somebody kill him?
You know, I've been trying for a long time, and there's a lot of other people trying. I believe it's the same thing. Why can't we get bin Laden? And it doesn't mean we should stop, but we need to be trying, and we need to try a lot harder. But I believe a lot of this is turning into a spiritual war. This Kony is plumb full of the devil. He gets all of his power from Satan. I mean, he even says it. He hears his orders also from spirits, you know.
Well, the viciousness, I mean, the dismembering of these people, beating up, ripping up pregnant women, cutting off their hands, cutting them children's arms off at the shoulder. This is horrible.
Absolutely. Well, he does this so his victims will scare the other people so it will make them leave the area. Something he's been doing recently is even skinning victims alive. I mean, it's just unheard of.
Well, I thought Museveni had made some kind of an accommodation with him where he was going to behave himself. Did that break down?
Yeah, there is no more peace talks right now. They are hunting him down. And I believe that's what they need to stick to doing. I mean, you can't make peace, okay, with the devil.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this territory isn't all that hard to get around. There are people there that obviously don't like him who would tell the soldiers where he is. I can't imagine he can hide out. I mean, bin Laden can hide up in those mountains, but
Absolutely.
there's nothing in East Africa to protect him.
Jungle can be very hard to find somebody, and especially these people are able to hide under a rock. I mean, you can walk right by somebody in the jungle, so it's a lot harder than we think.
Yeah.
Yeah, to find someone like him. Now he's in the Congo, but he still has LRA soldiers that's in Sudan also killing people. From Christmas Eve night, he killed 670 people up till January 19th. From Christmas Eve night, he killed 670 people up till January 19th.
You don't mean it. That's
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
Well, what's his game? I mean, he can't take power, or is he just out there to terrorize
He
people?
doesn't have no agenda. He just wants to kill. I mean, he says he wants to take over the government, but, I mean, he just wants to kill people.
Well, now, you have gone in the midst of that and rescued these children. How do you get them?
We get them, I'll go into villages after they have already raided them, and we'll find these children hiding out in the bush. I've been in ambushes, I've been in battles, I mean, so I get them all different ways. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's nothing to go into the jungle and find children that are living by themselves. That is the age of 6 years old, 7 years old, just living.
Well, you said that in the orphanage they scream at night because of the terror.
I tell you what, since over the last couple of years, I put a playground in the orphanage. And it's really done amazing things for these children. So now you're hearing during the day some laughter and everything. So it's not near as bad as it was. So this has been a lot of help for these children that's been shot and arms cut off, legs cut off. So they're doing really good now.
Well, do they have any families? Do you bring them together with parents, or they're all orphans?
Out of the 1,000 children that I have rescued, we have 268 that we've found to be orphans with no family. And all the rest of them, I've found somewhere family members, whether it be uncles or aunts or brothers or sisters that they could live with.
How long does it take you to kind of retrain them to get them back into a normal type of
You know,
feeling?
usually a couple weeks, I believe that God will really do an impact on them. But what happened to these children is something they're going to have to deal with for the rest of their life.
You go back in there, you risk your life, obviously. You're not just going to have a walk up a dirt road.
Yeah, well, like I've always said, I don't have a problem with dying. Sometimes I have more of a problem with living. You know, so yeah, dying's something you only got to do one time. And I mean, if you see these children's faces, I believe anyone would do the work that I do.
Well, you wake up sobbing yourself, don't you?
Yeah, yeah,
The cries.
yeah.
Well, you see what's happening there, then you see what the Janjaweed is doing down in southern Sudan. It's
Absolutely. I've fought the Janjaweed also.
You have?
Yep, and I'm going to keep fighting them. And
When you say fighting, I mean, you're talking about machine guns and weapons and...
Absolutely. I mean, once the LRA is taken care of in South Sudan, I'm going into Darfur. I've already been in that region. I'm going in, not refugee camps, but I'm going in to fight.
Well, who gives you the weapons? I mean, these other organizations?
No, I get them from the government there. I mean, I'm a soldier. I'm a soldier. I'm a member of the movement of the SPLA. The SPLA is some unbelievable Christian fighting soldiers that believe in freedom. I mean, they're fighting for freedom, the same thing that we fought for, our ancestors fought for here in our own country.
Speaking of our ancestors, does our government get it, what you're saying, you know?
You know, I don't know. I've been having a lot of government people get a hold of me lately, and but I know I call myself a freedom fighter. Even my truck that's sitting outside says on the back of it, freedom fighter, and I fight for freedom. I mean, I'm not going to try to talk somebody into serving the God that I serve. But I can tell you one thing, He wants us to come to Him on our own, free, you know. But there's a lot of other gods you're forced to serve, but Jesus Christ,
well, He wants us to lift the yoke of oppression. That's what you're talking about.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How do you get your money? What keeps you going?
Churches, even though I'm good with a gun, I'm still good with the Bible, and I can preach pretty good, some people tell me.
I bet you
So
can.
I'm out on the road preaching all the time, and God has really blessed me. Our book, all the proceeds from the book, I've signed everything over to the nonprofit, so I don't get any of that money.
What's it called? What's the nonprofit called?
Our nonprofit is called Angels of East Africa.
Angels of East Africa.
Angels of East Africa. And I've just recently made a deal with some people in Hollywood. They will be making a motion picture on this movie, or excuse me, on the book.
You literally gave up everything, didn't you? You had a construction business. You gave it all up.
You know, I almost lost everything in my life 4.5 years ago. Almost lost everything. My home, my truck, everything was coming down to losing it. And I never stopped. And everybody said, Sam, stop, go back to construction. And I cried, and I said, you don't understand. God told me to go, but He didn't tell me to stop. And I would have never dreamed that a book was going to come out of this. I would have never dreamed a movie. I would have never dreamed any of this. But God has really been good.
Well, I tell you, there's some passages in here of Sam's early life that'll really curl your hair. I mean, this guy was something else. Sam, how can people help you? I know they want to do it.
People can get on our website, machinegunpreacher.org.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, we have a new website, machinegunpreacher.org.
Okay.
So get on our website. You can even call our office. You can go to Barnes & Noble's, Borders, almost all of your bookstores you can go to. If they don't have the book, they can get it to you, I'd say, within a few days.
Another Man's War. Folks, this is a fascinating book. I get a lot of books to read, but this is just wonderful. I mean, it really will rivet your attention. This guy is, I don't know, Indiana Jones and someone else all wrapped up together, but and David Livingstone all in one.
But I got to give God all the credit. I mean, because when you hear the stories in there, there's no possible way that I could be alive here today sitting if God did not keep me alive. I mean, there's just no way.
I want to ask people to pray for Sam. He's an incredible guy, but the terror that's being vented on these people, it's Satan. Satan hates human beings, and unfortunately, those who serve him have got to be taken out of the way somehow or other. I mean, he kills, and somehow along the way, somebody's got to imprison him or kill him or do whatever. This Coney is just a monster. And Sam, I wish you the best. You know, good hunting, brother.
Hey, God bless you. Thank you very much.
God bless you. Keep it in mind, Machine Gun Preacher. You can look it up on the website. And this book, Another Man's War, fascinating. You really want to read it.
Well, if you don't fight the corruption and you don't stand up for what's right in life, you can end up being a serf and a slave, and you're leaving your children a world that you wouldn't want to live in yourself. So how can you, in decency, behave that way? You have to stand up for what's right in life. And unless you do that, you're nothing.
Simply for truth and against error. If my mother teaches something that is right or wrong, I'll say, yeah, that's right, that's wrong. Allah told Muhammad that all those who opposed his message should be killed, or they should be nailed to a tree with their hands and legs should be cut off. The Quran teaches, when you meet or fight those who disbelieve, strike at their necks till when you have killed and wounded many of them. You're supposed to kill the heretics if they don't believe in the Quran and Allah. The third surah, verse 105 and 106 says, in the great and final day of redemption, only white faces will be saved, all blackened faces will be condemned. This is what they teach, okay? They say, men, marry as many women as you like, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Under Islam, you can have up to 4 wives at a time, and if you want to have temporary marriages, you can get married for 15 minutes. That's pornography is what it is, okay? It's perverted. Look, I'm not anti-Muslim for the people. I'm anti what they teach. I'm for truth. I'm against error. Even if it's my own mother. If she's 99% right and 1% wrong, I'll praise her for the 99 and say, Mom, you're wrong on the 1.